Hi, I'm John, I live here. I just come home from work. I work for Henlem Windows in Bomaderry. Well, I just work as a window assembler in the factory. It's a nice little house, it suits me perfectly. A nice little easy to manage yard, and I just love it. It's a pretty good street and it's a pretty nice area and I like it, and I really commend Southern Cross Community Housing for where they build these houses and mix them in with private houses, and they're really good areas, and it's a really good area and I love it.
I think a lot of the problem to start with was more about people's concern or basically they weren't happy that, you know, what they thought was a piece of public reserve had been sold. So then the affordable housing development came along, and that, I guess, was the double-edged sword. You know, on one hand their land's been sold and now they're faced with an affordable housing development on that site. To be frank, given the amount of sort of media storm, community storm that was around when the land was sold, when the DA was lodged, when the court matter was going on, versus when it was up and operational, it's really basically just disappeared. If you drove past that development now, you'd be hard pressed to sort of get somebody who didn't know what it was to say, do you think that's a community housing development, or do you think it's badly designed? I think most people wouldn't even realise it was there.
Once we've allocated the tenancies and people started living there, hasn't been an issue at all. We haven't had any complaints from neighbouring residents at all. The people we house there are overwhelmingly happy. They love the place and the units they have. So I think it's a really good example of, you know, a big fuss made up front about the fear of the unknown, and then once they understand that, you know, they're people like you and I that just want to live in a loving community, there's no issues.
The neighbours either side of me, I talk to, you know, just say hello, and the old guy across the road, he's pretty good. He brings me bins in for me, and if I get to put them out, he'll put them out for me. He's pretty good. So, you know, it's nice.
It's actually quite surprising, I think, when you look at the research. People look at Shoalhaven and go, well, housing affordability shouldn't really be an issue in Shoalhaven because it's a regional area, it's distant from Sydney and Canberra, land values are still relatively low, so we shouldn't have enough housing affordability problem, but the issue is we actually do, and it's growing. I think we have the highest housing affordability issue in the Illawarra Shoalhaven region, which surprises a lot of people. A lot of it's to do with our socioeconomic profile. We have quite a high aged population. We also have quite high youth unemployment. So when you put some of those things together, whilst land and housing may be relatively cheap, we do have a housing affordability problem.
There is an issue with homelessness here in the Shoalhaven. I think some of that may be contributed by the fact that we're at the end of the railway line. Surprisingly, some people actually sleep on trains, and when they get to the end of the line at Bomaderry, they hop off and they've got nowhere to go. But it isn't in an area that's got newly built houses, and our complex has 26 properties, a mixture of 2 and 3 bedroom dwellings. 6 of them are social housing dwellings where they have to meet the eligibility criteria, and the balance are in affordable housing where we charge 75% of market rent, or it's capped at 30% of someone's household income. So if they are unfortunate to lose their job, or their hours get cut, or their financial situation changes, they have got a safety net around only having to pay 30% of their household income as rent until they can get back on their feet.
I'm 23 years old and I'm a mum to Piper, a first-time mother. I currently work in employment services and I've lived in the Shoalhaven region for 23 years now. I was born at Shoalhaven Hospital. Southern Cross Community Housing is really supportive because if I do have any faults with the house, they're very quick to respond to them and fix them, which is great. And they're quite personalised. Like, I have had the girls call up at the office just to see how I'm going with Piper, how I've been settling in, if I have any concerns. Like, they're very on the ball and very supportive of their tenants.
Blue Chip basically stepped in and picked up the development off Southern Cross, though they were involved as the court case went through, and then looked at the way that they would configure and deal with the neighbourhood issues. And basically that's when I came on board. And the first thing I did on day 2 was go down and knock on the doors of each of the, particularly the key protagonists in this development. And generally, the sort of the reception was that people explained, I listened, what were their problems, and then I gave them a set of undertakings that we would achieve, and said to them that we would actually complete the development within the 12 months. You need to adopt what I would call a very proactive strategy to go and meet people. Even if it can be very uncomfortable at times, but you just have to do it.
I think if you can actually get a good design as well, I think that will not necessarily alleviate people's fears, but it will certainly remove one area of potential objection from that particular site or a site.
I wouldn't change anything that we've done there because it melds in well with the environment, and I think that's the critical thing, is making sure that everything sits and will age and with the urban fabric of what's next door with the other developments of the private owners, that there's no real difference.
The more immediate actions are really looking at firstly adopting the strategy as a fairly significant move for the council. I believe we'd possibly be the first in the Illawarra to adopt an affordable housing strategy. But then secondly, I think the second short-term action is to actually look at using council-owned land as a lever for affordable housing. So what can we do with council sites to partner with others to actually develop on the ground affordable housing?
At the moment, due to Piper, I'm only able to work part-time, so it's a little bit difficult with income, but I think this is definitely a long-term goal, is to live here and be able to still have the flexibility to save because of the reasonable prices, and yeah, hopefully I'll be able to buy my own home one day.